right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. As everybody is joining us, I have, it'll take just a second for everybody to get into Zoom. So I've just launched a poll for those of you that are joining us. If you would be so kind as to just give us a little bit of feedback about yourself, that will just help us think about how we can make these sessions better and better. So thanks everybody for being here. As folks are popping in, I see some familiar names. Hi, Cody Nichols. Hi, Floyd. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Gia Warren. How are you? Oh, I see a lot of folks from the University of Arizona on today. Jonathan Larkin, Les. Awesome. Thank you guys all so much for being here. Wonderful. All right, I'll keep the poll open for just a little bit during the introduction. And again, welcome, you guys. We are hosting these sessions every Thursday. We know that time is really our most valuable asset. So thank you all for giving us a little bit of your time today. Again, I just want to say a big welcome to everybody for joining us. This is part of a 15-week series of sessions that is brought to you by the University of Arizona, the University of South Florida, the University of South Carolina, and the Texas A&M University System. So if you are joining us and you are affiliated with any of those institutions, awesome, and thank you so much. We are also able to do this series thanks to the support of 4 corporate sponsors. Those are ADP, Deloitte, Amazon, and TEKsystems. So thanks to those folks. A little bit of background as to why we do these sessions. Kevin and I personally know that navigating civilian employment can be complicated, especially when you're pretty used to military norms. So we were just talking a little bit about this with our guest panelists before we joined. And so what we hope is that we can help you with a warm connection and direct exposure to those in industry to help you navigate the brave new world of civilian employment, especially now with COVID. We know that employment is really kind of top of mind for everybody. The great news is that there are some amazing employers that have specifically resourced pathways for military and veteran employment. And so we're really excited to do our part to kind of be that bridge if we can. Transition is a critical time. And so, for those of you that once you left the military, you went straight into employment, that transition time is really important. It looks like many of you are currently active duty. So thank you so much for taking advantage of this and being with us. For those of you that chose an education pathway and are joining us as student veterans, thank you so much for being here. Your time in school is really still a transition. It just is extended. So we really, really appreciate your time and kind of early and often engagement with those in industry. A little bit about who we are. Again, my name is Candy Tillman. My husband and I started 50 Strong in April as a direct result of COVID. My background is almost 20 years in corporate. So companies like Procter & Gamble, Henkel, SAP, and Oracle. And about 3 years ago, I took a big fat dive into the veteran services space, specifically focused on employment. That was really driven by my experience living kind of daily with my husband. I met Kevin about a year after he got out of the military, and I'll let him talk a little bit about that. But really, after hearing not only from Kevin, but lots of service members, workforce development has really become my focus. So Kev, do you mind to say hello to everybody and just tell a little bit about kind of your own personal employment journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate everybody jumping on, and thanks to JB Hunt and J&J for jumping on here for this little webinar today. And Kenny, thanks for getting everything going. Really grateful. So I got out of the military in 2005. I was over at Range Battalion over in Fort Lewis, Washington. I had a college degree before I went in and enlisted. And I thought when I got out, I would not have a problem finding employment, like a lot of people. And at the time, even getting out, I didn't really care. I'm like, well, I just need a mental break and then I'll jump into it. And I was really shocked at the difficulty that I had in even understanding, and I'd tell Candy this, eventually when I met her after I got out of the military, it was, I'm just looking for a regular job. And she would look at me like I was crazy. Like, what is a regular job? Like, what does that mean? And I was like, well, you go to work and they pay you stuff and you show up with clothes or a suit or something. And because I was so used to college, some other stuff, and then is in the military. And I didn't really understand that these companies that are, they got roles and you got to fill them. I didn't know what roles existed. I thought you were either a doctor, a policeman, a teacher. I didn't quite get the nuance. Like a Johnson and Johnson, you think of, pharmaceuticals or whatever, or, baby powder or something. But it's like they've got IT, they have HR, they have everything that all these big companies, the product is, it's not irrelevant, but it's like they all have a bunch of stuff that they need to do. And for me, I didn't know that going in. And some of you guys may be much wiser than I was. But I want to make sure, and Kenny, I want to make sure that transition, you're aware of the difficulties that may entail. And if, I had a little tough transition getting out mentally, I wasn't very good. So it made it that much tougher for me to get a job because I wasn't really mentally there at the time. Took a while. I'm perfectly normal now, Candy. But that transition to an employer was very stabilizing on top of it. So a lot of it is, that transition, it's difficult in and of itself, but depending on your experience, it can exacerbate it when you're looking for another purpose, which is that employment. And that's what you spend most of your time doing. So I'm just really, really excited that we have, these two really good companies that are, currently looking for veterans and looking to bring people on. They can communicate, what is their process, and you can meet them, face to face, effectively as face to face as we get these days. And you can have that relationship and understand what they're looking to do. So I'm really excited that J&J and JB Hunt are on the call today to talk to everybody, and I'm grateful that everybody jumped on the call today. And Candy, thanks for getting it going. So that's my little 5-minute background speech here.
And Kevin, thank you. And with that, guys, I would also like to let our guests that are here with us today quickly introduce themselves. Before I do that, I just want to let everybody know. So here are our poll results. I asked, is this your first time attending a 50 Strong EmployerConnect session? It looks like almost 2/3 of you have been with us before. So thanks for coming on. That's super exciting. What I always tell folks is any one session can be good, right? But repetitive exposure to lots of different companies and lots of different insights and topics is really awesome. So that's great. It looks like almost 1/3 of you are listening to the 50 Strong EmployerConnect replays. They're on our website. So that's really great to know. And it looks like about 1/3 of you are student veterans or recent graduates. This is awesome. It looks about half of you are currently active duty. And another 45% are community veterans. And then, of course, we have some folks that are joining us that are with veteran service organizations. I want to give a shout out to the military spouses that are tuning in. Thank you so much for being with us. Awesome. So with that, I have turned off the screen share, and I am just going to ask each of our guests if you can just say hello, your name, who you are, any military background that you may have, and what you do at your companies. And then I'll take back over and do a little bit more about 50 Strong and what we're hoping that you get out of this session. And then I'll turn it back over to you guys. So John, I will start with you and Lee, if you don't mind.
Great, thank you. Awesome to kick it off. Thanks for hosting this. I hope, so John Perez, Head of Military and Veterans Affairs at Johnson & Johnson. Like Kevin, I hope I'm also normal now. Made the transition after about 4.5 or close to 5 years on active duty. I was an Army officer stationed in Germany, did about 2 years deployed to Iraq. My transition story, similar to Kevin, I think, although I'm very grateful, especially in hindsight, looking at it and having the opportunity to go to a full-time graduate program. That was really instrumental for me to sort of buy me that extra time in the transition to understand, hey, what are all of these different role types out there? What does it mean to be in different functions and industries, and what does it actually mean out there? So looking forward to talking about that more later. And maybe I'll turn to Lee to introduce herself and quickly J&J.
Hi, hello everyone. Really a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Candy and Kevin. My name is Lee Lau. I am the program manager for our military leadership development programs at Johnson & Johnson. I've been at Johnson & Johnson about 10 years, all in a variety of different HR positions in the business and talent acquisition. And before that, I started in college recruiting and career services. So can definitely relate to transitions at multiple points for both students, veterans, and beyond. Really look forward to being here and being a resource to everybody.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I was on mute. Thank you, John and Lee. Really happy to have you here. Eric, can I turn it over to you and let's introduce the JB Hunt team.
Thanks, Candy. All right. And thank you, Kevin, too, for that intro and just learning a little bit about your story. So glad to be here. I'm Eric Arola. I'm the senior manager over the military and veteran initiatives at JB Hunt. I've been with JB Hunt for 30 years. So I got out of the Marine Corps. I was an infantry officer for 6 years and came into our manager training program. So what you'll hear us talk about later today, that program is still live, active. It's bigger than ever. And I started in that, and then I did operational positions for about 5 years, moved over into the HR side. And then over the last 25 years, I've had several roles in HR, from business partner, benefits leader, training and development. I ran our college recruiting program for a while, and most recently was in talent acquisition until I made a suggestion to our CEO that we needed really a focus on veteran and military initiatives. And guess what? I'm in that job now. So it's great. It's my passion. I love doing it, and really excited to be here today to talk to you guys. So I'm going to flip it over to Isla Dildy.
Hi, everyone. I am ecstatic to be here. My story is very similar to Kevin's. I joined the military when I was 17. I was a 92 Alpha Supply Logistics. Did that for almost 9 years, exited out in 2017. And so this is very close to my heart. I joined the military because I did not know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And when it was time to exit, I still wasn't sure. I was like Kevin, like I said, I thought cops, doctors, singers, like what is there out there? I was interested in HR, and I kind of wanted to get into that field, but it was a struggle. I had my bachelor's degree, I was working on my master's, and I still could not get a job. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I'm really happy to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Darius Blanton. I'm the engineering and technology recruiter here at JB Hunt. I've been with JB Hunt a little bit over almost 2 years here now in a couple of weeks. And it's funny, Eric was the director that hired me when he was in that role 2 years ago. So I don't have a military background personally, but as you can see in the house, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, I come from a military family. My aunt and uncles, my cousins are in the military. So it's something I've been supporting my whole life, and I've been supporting it as a recruiter in different positions I have. So glad to be here and talk with you guys about what we're doing at JB Hunt and provide information that I hope will help you all.
You guys, thank you all so much. And, you know, Darius, I'll say, I'm also a civilian, right? Never served. And so it is imperative that more civilians just like you, especially those in recruiting roles, are really being mindful of the military and veteran community. So thank you so much. You guys, if you saw our marketing for this event a little bit earlier, Darius wasn't on it. But literally Eric was like, hey, we have a lot of technology openings. Can Darius join in? 100%. So Darius, thank you so much for just being flexible and joining us. Let me share my screen really quickly again.
Candy, I also didn't want to talk about our engineering and technology positions. It was way above my pay grade.
Well, then I'm really glad Darius is here, Eric. Okay, so guys, just a little bit of background about 50 Strong. Here's what I want everybody out there to know. Every employer partner that joins us for these sessions is currently hiring and is specifically seeking military talent. They have resourced specific pathways. And so just as you heard Eric talk about, there are some awesome companies out there that are specifically have folks in these roles that are trying to help you find really good employment. Listen, maybe one of our employer partners is a great fit for you. Maybe they're not, right? Maybe you are just like, I've listened, Candy, corporate route is not for me. Fine. What we hope is that the exposure to the language and the culture and the insights that they'll share will help you with tools that you need for your own job search. So again, these are just some of the companies that are coming into the 50 Strong session, and we're really appreciative again to J&J and the JB Hunt team for joining us today. A little bit more about our university partners. So here's the thing, guys. For those of you that have chosen an education pathway, it is really important that you're thinking about your outcome beyond just the diploma or just graduation, right? So you're investing your hard-earned benefits. And so our partners have literally said, we want to provide additional career readiness that's available to all of our students on demand in a flexible way. But in addition, we're hubs for our entire communities. And so these are our 4 partners that have really leaned in with us on just trying out this virtual type of series. I also want to give a shout out to our strategic partners. If you are out there and you are not currently using Veterati, it is, in my opinion, one of the easiest ways to go find mentors that are specific to your needs, to your industry, to your personality. The very first session that we hosted, you can find the replay on our website, featured the CEO of Veterati. I think, Bruce Thompson, are you out there in the chat box? I think I saw you pop. There you are, Bruce. So Bruce Thompson, I think, has like 400 plus hours on Veterati at this point, I saw. Here's the thing. There are so many folks already in industry that have basically said, yep, here's an hour of my time, and any service member, veteran, or spouse can hop on and pick their brain directly. It's a really good service. The other organization that I want to mention is the DoD Skill Bridge program, particularly for those of you that are active duty. Please leverage the DoD Skill Bridge program. It is, in my opinion, just low-hanging fruit. The DoD has already basically said, yep, we are supportive of this. If you missed our September 17th session, it was fully focused on DoD Skill Bridge. You can check out the replay. FYI for this group, we are also planning a session on November 4th focused on DoD Skill Bridge, so stay tuned for that. So again, I've been mentioning the replays that are available. We put all of the unedited replays on our website. We try to do it within 24 hours. Here's the deal. I know the slot doesn't work for everybody. I know we have kids to think about and work, and things come up. So we put the replays out there, listen to it, watch it at your convenience. The very first session, we did a whole session on leveraging LinkedIn, so how to get started with that. Again, we had the CEO of Veterati, so I encourage you to check that out if you weren't able to join us for that. Since then, here's just a snapshot at some of the sessions that we have hosted. We have had the Amazon team in not once, but twice, including a mock interview session that was very cool. Kevin Wordy, who is the lead of military and veteran acquisition at Deloitte, joined us, and his presentation was awesome, just demystifying the civilian and recruiting process. We've had Procter & Gamble on, U-Haul, Mayo, lots of organizations that are affiliated with SkillBridge, Microsoft, Tech Systems. Last week we had ADP on. The chief talent officer is also an Army vet, and was awesome to hear from that whole team. So all those replays are available. Check them out when you have a second. I want to give a couple of housekeeping things. In addition to the fact that you might hear the jets from Luke Air Force Base fly over our heads, and I might go on mute for a second. The other housekeeping point that I wanted to just mention, in the chat box, I see a lot of you on fire right now, sharing out your LinkedIn URLs. You guys, that's awesome, right? It's just an easy way to start building your network with folks that are like-minded. So if you have not already put your personal URL in the chat box and you don't know how to do it, I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. If you want to send questions just to the panelists that we will try our best to answer during this session, we may not get to all of them, but if you want to send questions only to the panelists privately, please use the Q&A box. All right, so really quickly, for those of you that may be on and may be new to LinkedIn, I don't want you to miss this opportunity to do some networking in the chat box. So here is how you can find your personal URL. Click on me and then view profile, contact info, and you will see it right there. By the way, if you have a funny combination of letters and numbers after your name and you want to clean that up, and you want to just do some basic training on how to get started with LinkedIn, again, check out the very first session that is on our website. All right, so I hope that helps. At this point, again, I just want to say thank you so much to the Johnson & Johnson and the JB Hunt teams for joining us. And at this point, I will turn it over to John and Lee to talk about Johnson & Johnson.
Great. I'll quickly kick off and then I'll turn to Lee. So again, John Perez, Head of Military Veterans Affairs. Basically, my role is bringing together everything the company does that somehow touches the military or veteran community. Part of what I do is related to HR activities to include some recruitment, but I'm not a full-time recruiter. And it's actually probably a good learning on this is that there may be folks who have role titles like mine who don't even sit within a talent acquisition, right? So my day role is not related to, hey, there's job XYZ, how can we go and source and staff this one particular role? But I am broadly engaged in all of that. My personal background, so after about, as I was sharing earlier, about 4.5 years on active duty, that's when and coming back from about a 15-month deployment, about 60 days after coming back from the deployment, I was out. I was transitioned back from Germany to the United States. And I'm really thankful that I was able to do that transition into a full-time MBA program. I'm very similar to what was shared before. I wasn't quite sure, what do I go do? What does it look like? I didn't have family members who had traditional white collar roles. I didn't know, no one else in my family had gone to college before me, let alone sort of pursuing grad school and the different opportunities that opens up. So going to an MBA program, getting immersed in industry, hearing what the different functional opportunities that were available was incredibly important. And frankly, it was more important. I realized that it was more important afterwards because I left the military thinking I can go do anything. I can be thrown into any role in any location with any team and I'll go and be successful. And that may very well have been true at that period of time. However, I would never have gotten in the door because I wouldn't have been able to translate into the function and industry talk and understand sort of that siloed thinking in the private sector. So going to an MBA program and then really being immersed in that was very, very helpful. I've been at J&J now for 8 years. I've had a variety of different roles. I'll turn to Lee here in a moment, but I'll make 2 comments. So one, J&J, world's largest, most broadly based healthcare company. You should want to join J&J if you want to continue your service of giving back to others in society by being at the world's largest and most broadly based healthcare company and a company that's driven by values, which Lee will talk about in a second. And then the second thing is, I know we'll get questions around, and I'm getting a bunch of chat messages already or Q&A questions and LinkedIn messages already saying, hey, what roles are available? My answer usually is, what roles are available at J&J? And my answer is yes. We have all role types at J&J. If you're interested in sales roles, we have that. If you're a scientist and you're interested in doing research, we have those. If you're a supply chain person, want to work at a distribution center, we have that. If you have manufacturing roles, if you're a finance major and you want to work in that, we have all those roles. My question back to everyone when I get asked that question is, well, what do you want to go do? What do you see yourself in? And then we could talk about what are the best pathways. So with that, I'll turn to Lee to share more about herself and our company overview.
Hey, thanks so much, John. So again, Lee Lau, I really have the privilege to work in our global talent management organization at Johnson & Johnson. specifically working with our veteran population. So the majority of my role is working with our military veteran leadership development programs, both at the manager level and a newly launched program for experienced transitioning leaders, which we were very excited to launch this year. So really focused on those transitioning with 20 to 30 years of experience who really wanted to apply their skill set and translate those capabilities into another career. And you know, thanks to leadership like John and others and our executive sponsors, we're able to launch that. Like I said earlier, I've been in kind of the HR talent acquisition space my whole career. I too am a civilian, but have always been an advocate for veterans. And you know, we really look to bring in hires across our organization, whether it be sales or finance or IT. A lot of it is around finding that right fit where you can really translate your experiences. And a lot of times also, you know, geography, right? We know is a fit for a lot of individuals. So thinking through where you're open to be and, you know, what's of interest to you to also build a longer term career. So John and I will talk about our organization today, just to provide a little bit more context around who we are as Johnson & Johnson, and then also about different career pathways for, you know, direct hires, as well as hire our heroes and our LDPs. Okay. All right, excellent. So a little bit about us as an organization. So hopefully if you have any interest in Johnson & Johnson, or you have an opportunity to talk to a recruiter in the future, I would really encourage you to start with our credo and to really read and understand that and why it's so important to Johnson & Johnson. It really is a collection of values that challenges us to put our needs and well-being of the people we serve first. It was a breakthrough idea in 1943. And what's so amazing about it is it's as relevant today as it is and was then. They talked about corporate social responsibility. It talks about diversity and inclusion, all parts of an organization that we know were important 75 years ago, and we know are equally to more important today. It was really ahead of its time. And what the credo does is it guides us in all of our decision making. I know I've been at leadership team tables, I'm sure John has, where we've heard a leader refer to making a credo-based decision. And it really guides that decision making. And it's written in a priority fashion, which you can see laid out here. Everything starts with our customers at Johnson & Johnson. That is our patients, our doctors, our mothers, our fathers, everybody who uses our products. Next, we talk about our employees. So really making sure, and John will touch on this, for example, as it applies to the military connected community, but in all different facets, making sure we're taking care of our people. And we definitely saw that, you know, come to life through COVID, right? Thinking about our flexibility, our various time off policies and things of that nature, just as an example. Next is really around the communities in which we all live and serve, making time for community service. We actually can take paid time off to go work in organizations or in areas that are in need, and the company really values that. And then if we do all of those well, if we serve all of those populations well, our shareholders and our stakeholders will profit. So again, we always start with those top three, and if we do that right and in a fair and equitable way, our stockholders and shareholders will benefit, which we've been privileged to really see year over year for a long sustained time period. So what I'll do next is really go into talk a little bit about our organization in terms of our segments, and then turn it over to John. Next slide, Candy. Okay, so before I take a deep dive into our segments, our various sectors that we operate in, I would be remiss, you know, not to kind of start higher level organizationally. So Johnson & Johnson is actually the most broadly based healthcare organization in the world. We are represented in over 60 countries. We have roughly 135,000 employees, and all of that within 260 different operating companies. So I won't go into, you know, detail of those operating companies today, but a lot of time, you know, we acquire companies such as a Megadyne or a Torax. These are two medical device examples, and they then become part of our Johnson & Johnson organization. So J&J is very big and broad, and it really allows us to be flexible. And in times of crisis and pandemics like COVID, you hear our CEO say, we were built for times like these. And a lot of that comes down to our diversification because we are so broadly based. So I'll just start here talking a little bit about our pharmaceutical sector. A lot of people think about us as baby powder, you know, as Kevin alluded to earlier, but also hitting on pharmaceuticals, which is fantastic, because the pharmaceutical sector is actually our biggest part of our portfolio. So within pharmaceuticals, what we do as an organization is we fight the world's most pervasive diseases and bring new hope to people in all parts of the world by developing and delivering medicines that prolong and improve people's lives. In 2019, our segment sales in pharmaceuticals were $42 billion. So as you can see, a pretty large component of our overall portfolio. And within our pharmaceutical area, we're focused on 6 different areas. They include, as you can see here on this slide, immunology, cardiovascular, metabolic disease, pulmonary hypertension, infectious disease and vaccines, neuroscience, and oncology. And just as Kevin spoke to, this applies to all of our sectors. While I talked about a lot of scientific and therapeutic areas in that example, everything behind this organization, and same with medical device and consumer, is information technology, is supply chain, is human resources, is finance, is research and development, is business development, right? So all of those different functions service our sectors, pharmaceuticals being our biggest. If we could transition, Candy. So next is medical device, and medical devices really comprises technologies that benefit people of all ages and leverage the latest science and research to change lives. I actually worked in our medical device organization as a HR business leader supporting our field sales organization for Ethicon, and had an opportunity to really get closer to a lot of these products, to understand our patients and our customers. And I would say here, you know, sales representative roles are a really great entrance and pathway into an organization like Johnson & Johnson for individuals. I think a lot of times, you know, when I talk to transitioning veterans, there might be a misconception of what sales means. And sales is very different in each industry. Even within Johnson & Johnson, it will look very different in medical device, where our sales representatives are standing side by side in the operating room with surgeons, guiding them how to use our devices, introducing new parts of our portfolio like robotics. They're the closest to our patient as you can get. So I just want to kind of underscore that, to think about sales as a function that is a great pathway. Candy?
Lee, sorry, I just want to highlight that because, to your point, I hear from service members all the time, service members and veterans all the time, that sales almost feels icky. And so again, like you guys, what Lee is communicating is so important, that even within this like sales function, there's some, I myself have been in sales for quite some time, technology sales and business development. And so these are all really important pathways that I really encourage people to be open to.
Thank you. Okay, Katie, we can just transition on. I'll just kind of round us out talking a little bit about our consumer segment, which hopefully most people can identify some of these products at home in their cabinets, right? So we have a really diverse portfolio of consumer products. In fact, I did not know many of which were part of the Johnson & Johnson portfolio when I joined the organization, and one that we are consistently adding to, again, to kind of diversify our offerings as we think about skincare, over-the-counter, beauty, health, and wellness. So our consumer health organization is also a really exciting opportunity in the various areas, and really does round us out to enable us to be very broadly based in healthcare overall. So with that, John, I'll turn it over to you to talk more about our military veteran community.
So just rounding out the last few minutes, we'll show a really quick 2-minute video that also include some feedback from our CEO, but really try to share everything end to end that the company is doing in this community. And then we'll just transition into sharing a little bit more on specific opportunities and how you can engage in next steps. So a few more minutes and we'll turn to our friends at JB Hunt.
broadly based healthcare company. We're profoundly changing the trajectory of health for humanity. We make a huge impact on people's lives. We're all about values. We write them in stone. Values like diversity and inclusion. And that includes the military connected community. We supported you then. We'll support you always. We get recognized for it. Our military leave policy provides industry-leading best-in-class benefits to Guard and Reserve Service members. J&J creates networks for veterans and develops great leaders and strong innovators. If you are a service member, veteran, or military spouse, we value your service, skills, and experiences and want you at Johnson & Johnson. We created the Johnson & Johnson Military Veterans Leadership Development Program, and we participate in several programs that help make it easy for you.
I'm proud of Johnson & Johnson's commitment to supporting the wellness of veterans and their families through long-standing partnerships with select nonprofit groups that excel in supporting this very same mission. To all of our veterans, thank you for your service. To your family members, thank you for the sacrifices you make. And to our employees, thank you for your ongoing efforts that truly make a difference in the lives of veterans.
At Johnson & Johnson, we're making an impact. Join us.
Great. Hopefully that worked for everybody and got the gist, but let me just talk through a couple really high level things before we just share how to connect with us. So if you jump to the next slide, Kenny. Great. So hopefully some of the bigger takeaways from that and talking about this community, it starts with this legacy of support and engagement. We talk about, hey, we've been actively, purposefully supporting the military community since the Spanish-American War in 1898. Our credo was written by General Robert Wood Johnson, who liked to be referred to as the General for the remainder of his life. Our current CEO, Alex Gorski, a West Point graduate and veteran, very active in the community. And that cascades out to everything that we do, the support to this community. Award-winning, best-in-class. We have an incredible employee resource group for the veteran community. Very proud of the benefits that we give. I know I've seen a few messages now on LinkedIn and a couple, I think, in the chat room talking about National Guard, that there are National Guard members. I'm sure there are other reservists or people that are planning on doing that. I'm really proud of having a best-in-class policy to support folks when they're activated for any reason, whether it's a deployment or you're going on your 2 weeks annual training, or you're going on a month-long training activity, or you're responding to a state-level disaster. We let you continue your full pay and benefits from J&J on top of your military pay and benefits, right? Not pay differential, full J&J pay and benefits on top of your military pay and benefits. So we really try to lean into providing the support so that individuals can feel that sense of belonging to the company, can be their full selves at work and at home, and if they're still in the military, in their military service, and great opportunities to then go and give back. So we can close out, if you jump to the next slide, on how to engage. Lee, do you want to share just quickly on our talent hub, and then we'll transition to our JB Hunt?
Sure. The best way to really stay up to date on careers with Johnson & Johnson is to visit our website. And within that, you can create a talent profile on our talent hub. So you can see the URL in the bottom of the screen, /talent hub. And that will enable you to tell us more about yourself, your areas of interest, and receive push notifications of jobs that are interest. And that updates in real time as new positions are continuously added to our website. So I would say at the very least, it's the best way just to stay connected to all that's going on, as well as, of course, visiting our general site at careers.jnj.com.
Thanks. Yeah, looking forward to the discussion and answering questions and going from there.
John and Lee, thank you both so much. So folks that are tuning in, if you have questions for John and Lee, you can go ahead and pop them into the Q&A box if you'd like. We might come back to some questions at the very end as well. But at this point, I will turn it over to Eric with JB Hunt.
Thank you, Candy. And I got to say, I'm pretty impressed with J&J. I didn't know that about your company. Certainly have used those products that you mentioned, Lee. That I was thinking, counting off how many are the cabinets around here. But to do full military and pay and benefits, I got to give you guys a big thumbs up. I have not heard of that before. That's really a cool thing. So JB Hunt Transport was founded by a veteran also. Johnny Bryan Hunt is our founder. He started off in the Army in World War II. And then he's quite the inventor, quite the entrepreneur. He tried several businesses and failed until he latched onto a company in Arkansas where he was from, packaging rice hulls, and then later bought a trucking company on the advice of a person who ended up selling his business to Tyson Foods. So we're based in Northwest Arkansas, which is where Isla and I are. Darius is out of our Atlanta office. And we are here at a corporate campus that has about 3,500 people, and nationwide we've got around 30,000 total folks. There are around 500 locations around JB Hunt, which is, I think, what really gives us a great footprint. No matter where you're at, where you're from, military spouses out there, we think this is really a benefit for you as well, because as you know, you move around a lot. You might be transferred from one location to another. There's a really good chance that we could have a JB Hunt facility somewhere nearby that we can continue your employment. We're on the Fortune 400, and we're a little smaller than Johnson & Johnson, but our revenues are around $10 billion. We should eclipse that mark this year, even despite COVID. We're made of 5 distinct business units that all operate somewhat consistently, but a little differently as well. Most people, when they think of JB Hunt Transport, you think of the big tractor trailers on the highway. I know that was my concept when I came to the company back in the day. And really, you'd be surprised to know that about 60% of our revenue comes from putting loads on trains. And so I know we have some folks from Arizona here. We have a big intermodal operation out in the West where we really maximize a lot of things that have to do with sustainability by putting up to 200 containers on a train. You know, we really reduce the impact that some of those big trucks and trailers can have on our environment that way. And it's low cost that we provide on to our customers. And I'm not sure, but I think Johnson & Johnson is actually one of our customers as well. Our dedicated contract services group, we'll talk a little bit about them today, but they're our largest group. We bring a lot of people through our manager training program into those. And then that one in the middle, integrated capacity solutions, that's actually a brokerage group. They don't have any trucks, they don't have any trailers. If J&J has a need for a load and it's on a big flatbed that we don't happen to have, we'll outsource that to somebody else. So we talked a little bit about sales, and that's a good group to start with at JB Hunt if you're interested in sales. And then finally, that one that says final mile. Most people don't know this, but if you purchase something from Whirlpool, any appliance, if you want to get exercise equipment, you want a Peloton, and you order that and you want to have it delivered and installed, it's actually going to be a JB Hunt team that comes in and puts that into your house and hauls away your old one. So most people don't know that we actually go into people's homes. So Candy, you can go on to the next slide, please. So we talked a little bit about ourselves, but I'll just mention my background again. When I was in college, I decided to go into the Marine Corps, and I went through the platoon leaders class, went to officer candidate school for a couple summers. And I knew I didn't want to stay in the Marine Corps for a career, but I wanted to go and serve the country, do my thing. My father had been a Marine. My uncle had been a Marine. My father-in-law has been a Marine. So a lot of stuff going on in the family. But when I got out, I really didn't know what to do either. I went to a bunch of the organizations that work with junior military officers, had interviews, had a couple job offers from some big companies out there. But I actually stumbled across JB Hunt because one of my friends in college was named John Blees Hunt. And I ran into a recruiter at a military career fair. Didn't really know anything about the company, but when I came out for the interview, I was really impressed with kind of the esprit de corps that was at JB Hunt and the commitment to excellence, which are things that I really enjoyed about the Marine Corps. So kick it over to Isla and Darius for a minute, just to kind of fill in any gaps they had, and then we'll move through our presentation. Isla, anything you want to add?
Sorry, I was muted. Darn, had to be me. So basically, yes, I want to add to kind of what Eric just mentioned about the culture, right? I joined the military when I was 17, was in almost 10 years, so that's all I knew. Which we know in the military, you don't go home till the job's done. I mean, if somebody loses a weapon, like you're going to be there 3 days looking for it. That's happened. So just the culture that I had growing up in the military, a lot of support, a lot of always feeling like you had someone on your, like that's gonna push you and encourage you. I got out, I went into another company. It wasn't like that. It was like, hey, I'm here to do my job, get paid and go home. The attitude was just icky. I was so turned off. I was like, I don't want this. I want to go back in. Can I go back? So it was really hard. I did that job for about 8 months and then I quit. My husband was like, just quit, like finish your master's. We'll figure it out later. Just do it. So I did. And he actually got a job with JB Hunt about 6 months before I did. And he's like, hey, I love it. Like these people, like these are our kind of people. We want to be here. You should see what they have, right? And I was like, man, okay. And I also talk a ton. So he was like, listen, you're talking too much. You're stuck at home. I can't deal with it. Get to work. So between all of that, I started to apply for positions at JB Hunt. And actually, Eric was the director of our HR department when I applied for some numerous roles, but they ended up giving me a chance, which, man, I was so lucky. And I'm still so excited and thankful for it because, again, I tried to get into a position as a admin assistant at another company and they told me I didn't have enough HR experience. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm trying the lowest job I can get to get that experience, but okay. They actually gave me a shot as a maintenance recruiter. So I worked in the motor pool. That's what I knew. I knew mechanics. I knew drivers. That was kind of my in. I also love people. I was working on my master's degree in human resource. So he gave me a shot and I have not let him down. I don't think since that moment. I was like, hey, I want to be a recruiter. I want to go after military. I know there's a lot of maintenance mechanics out there that we can just transition straight from the military into our positions. And it was really exciting for me. And I've also moved into other roles since being on the team. I was promoted within a year to recruiter 2. I've got to recruit for a lot of those positions he mentioned on our field side, also ICS sales. And now I'm currently recruiting for the whole team wherever they need me. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm going to throw it to Darius because otherwise I'll take up all the time and you guys won't get to hear everything else. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Isla. Yeah, like I said, I'm Darius Blanton. I've been at JB Hunt, like I said, 2 years now and about 2.5, 3 weeks. And Eric was the director who first interviewed me there as well. My story is a little different than probably most of you on here, this call. I did not come from the military, but I had a military family. Fun story about me. I didn't start in Atlanta. Whenever I started at JB Hunt, I lived in the city. And at one point in time, we got an opportunity, my wife did, to come down to the Atlanta area for her job. And so I moved in the middle of the pandemic with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old and my wife. We packed up and moved down to the Atlanta area. And I bring that up because as you can see the photos behind me, as I sit in my uncle's office while we wait for our home to be built, my uncle who was in the military and retired and served 3 tours in the 90s, and his wife are in the military as well. And my cousins are in the military. And actually my cousin that you can see over my right shoulder, she is an Air Force recruiter. So she's still in the military. She's been in there for 18 years and she's gonna stick around. Maybe she said another 5 or 7 or something like that. She's gonna retire from the military. So the military has always been in my family. Something that I'm very proud of and love supporting. As far as my career, I've been recruiting for over 5 years now. I was in sales for 5 years before that at a different company. I actually got my recruiting career started at one of the sponsors here, Tech Systems. They actually gave me my first shot from sales into recruiting to make that transition for myself. And, obviously they are sponsors of this. They were huge supporters of the military. And that's where I got into military recruiting, is at Tech Systems in our Kansas City office, because we supported the Marine Corps engineer enterprise IT organization that was in Kansas City that supports all of our Marines out there across the world. And so I was part of those recruiting efforts out there at McKeats, and putting, people from the reserves, guys who were getting out of duty, and really networking with a lot of you guys in my time in Kansas City, and really helping you guys transition. So it's been a passion of mine to do for a while. And one of the things I loved when JB Hunt called was the opportunity not only to join a great organization and do something different, a little bit different than what I was doing, but I love the support that they had for the military. Instantly, you can see it when you're on campus. You can see it with our initiatives. You can see it with what we do, with different memorials, and obviously having an owner who was a military. It's a big things for us. So I've loved that part of it. And so I'm really excited to be on here and talk about our engineering and technology positions and what we're doing, because we really are trying to build out a world-class IT organization in the heart of Arkansas.
Hey, Darius, my friends at Tech Systems are going to love hearing about that little testimonial.
They will, yeah. I love it at Tech Systems. I love it at JB Hunt a little more.
Yeah. Awesome.
So Candy, got to apologize. You get 3 people from talent acquisition backgrounds at JB Hunt on, and we all like to talk. So
listen, this is what we're here for. People want to get to know you, Eric. That's right.
All right, cool. Well, good stuff there. I hope you guys are learning a little bit about the company. I was actually the first manager trainee hired directly from the military to JB Hunt. So pretty exciting. We are a military friendly employer for the past 13 years in a row. Last 2 years, we've been gold level in the large revenue sector. We partner with Wounded Warrior Project. We had a presentation similar to this last week, and that was very exciting. We're talking to 2 Wounded Warriors right now that I'm really hoping we can bring into one of our programs. We're a member of MSEP, the Military Spouse Employment Partnership as well. And we talked a little bit about SkillBridge, but we just received our DoD authorization, hallelujah, from SkillBridge. And now we're exploring how do you actually do it. And so thank you, Candy, for your help with that. So I'm gonna have Isla talk a little bit about some of these positions, but really when we look at people coming out of the military, we don't see any limitations. We want to find folks for everything. Where we see people gravitate to naturally are manager training positions, especially like myself coming out as an infantry officer. That was going to be the thing that was attracted to me. I ended up becoming a logistics manager, but a lot of our folks go into driver manager roles. Darius to speak to the software engineer and application developer. But I want to just talk for just a second about sales. And I'm glad that came up earlier from J&J, from Lee, because we do find that as well. When I was talking to recruiters, when I was getting out of the Marine Corps, a lot of them were pushing those sales positions. And I was that guy that said, oh, that sounds kind of icky. I had this image of door to door. It's not like that at all. There really are a lot of great job opportunities, career paths, et cetera, for that. And that's what our ICS group really represents. There's a lot of things. So we'll show a slide on some of these here in a minute where Isla and I can kind of dig in a little deeper. But Darius, do you want to mention some of the roles that you're recruiting for actively on the ENT side?
Yes, for sure, Eric. Thank you. Like Eric said, I too was in sales as well. I did 5 years in sales. And so I know I would have had that same mentality. But once I was actually in freight and logistics sales as well. You understand that you're really helping people cut money, save costs, and you really become a part of their business. So it is definitely a great way to start out your career once you transition. But talk more about what I do for JB Hunt in engineering and technology. And right now we're recruiting for our software engineers, really on all levels. I'll give you a quick background. So about 5 years ago, we got a new CIO named Stuart Scott. And Stuart had been in many different places before that, Microsoft, just to name a couple of different places. But when he and our CEO, John, came together, the thought process was that we really wanted to build out, like I said, a world-class IT organization, something that was really going to rival, the top dogs out there. But for us, what it really did for us and for the industry is we wanted to dictate what happens in the industry from a technology standpoint, and really use that to leverage things, for clients and businesses. And one of the big things is us having deeper visibility, which is, obviously all you guys probably out there either shop online or whatever it may be, or Eric said, where's your Peloton at, right? JB Hunt technology is what's helping track where that Peloton is, or where your Whirlpool washer is, as you are in your new home, or your old washer is broken down and you're waiting to wash the kids' clothes. So that's the world we're in today, and that's what we want to drive with our technology at JB Hunt. So right now we're looking for software engineers. Over the last 2 years, we've hired well over 400 new software engineers of all levels. Last year we hired 250 plus. The goal this year is 150 plus, and we're close to that goal. I think we're probably about 45 away now, but I think the number will get reset as it always does as we continue to drive and dictate what happens in the industry. So, anyone who's out there who's just fresh out of school or just fresh out of tech school and has that background, obviously, we have our intern program as well as our software engineer level 1. All that is housed at our TNT building, which is in Lowell, Arkansas, at our headquarters. So that's where our software engineer positions are, engineer or intern from software engineer 2. And then our software engineer 3 to senior are also there, but we also have some developers that do work remote. So if you're not in that area and looking for a different position in your military, but you already had 4 or 5 years in the workspace, but just looking for another company who would support you, that's a great time for us to get on there. We're looking for our next leaders in technology, because we have a very young technology company. So we want people who are going to come in there, help us problem solve, drive technology and change in this industry, and really be the next leaders of JB Hunt.
Well said, Darius. Thank you. You can move on to the next slide, please. So this is just a little bit more detail about that manager training program and the couple of positions that we recruit for in our brokerage and ICS. The folks that you see in these pictures, the guy down at the bottom was our first SkillBridge hire. He came through, he actually found us through Soldier for Life, but that's Kevin. He's right out of the Army. He works as a transportation manager in one of our dedicated accounts in Colorado. And then over on the right is Sihua, and she just graduated from UCLA. She was in Army ROTC there. So even as we speak, she's on military leave doing her MOS training in Georgia, and then she'll come back, and she's also a manager trainee, and she'll finish that program out and then be placed into one of our positions in Southern California. Isla, is anything you want specifically to point out about what you recruit for in these roles? Isla, you're muted again. That's 2, girl.
I'm just going to leave it unmuted. You might hear me chuckle or giggle in the background a couple of times from now on out. But yes, I'd like to say a lot of our roles for the field, and like I'd say majority of the roles for the field, they're more entry to mid-level on our sales side and our manager trainee programs. But with that being said, JB Hunt is really known for promoting from within. And that's something I know a lot of people say, but we truly are. As I mentioned, I started out as a recruiter 1, jumped into a recruiter 2. I currently support 2 different managers off the top of my head that they came in as an entry-level CPR, which it's another one of our sales positions, broker basically. He started not even 5 years ago, and now he has the entire Atlanta branch. So he grew tremendously. He was flexible, he was willing, he was hungry, and he's succeeding now. We have another guy, a manager trainee, started out, again, not even 5 years ago. His name is Chase. He is now a regional director over the whole West Coast for our DCS accounts. So these are 2 very, normal situations where it could be you. Yeah, you may have to take a step back coming out of the military. I was in E5, I was making up here. I had to take a step back, but I'm quickly moving up. You don't have to wait years. It's definitely something I want to highlight because the growth opportunity is there if you're hungry. And I know most military people are. We're excited. We get into a place and we want to do well. We want to show them that they made the right choice. And so I did want to highlight that when it comes to the positions right here, the carrier procurement rep, that's the one that Chance in Atlanta promoted up from within very quickly. A business development rep, it is very salesy. It's door to door, calling. But again, it's all about helping people. Yes, you can uncap commission there. You can really grow, but you have to, we don't want a sleazy salesman. So if that's who you are, that's not what we're looking for. We want somebody who really wants to help the customer. And we're so big. We as he mentioned, we have those 5 different divisions. We have so much to offer the customer. So if you are excited to grow and develop and kind of be in control of yourself and your money and your income, that's a good role for you. All right, I'm not gonna mute myself now. I'm just gonna step back and hand it back over.
Thank you. And actually those don't go door to door to door. That was kind of figuratively speaking. Okay, excellent.
Phone to phone.
You made a good point there about that take a step back. We have seen sometime, like when I came out of the Marine Corps, I was a junior captain 6 years in, and I did take a bit of a pay cut to come to JB Hunt, but I made it up pretty quickly. The training program was 9 months in those days. I came out in 5 months. So you are recognized for what you bring to the table, which is that military background, the work ethic, the skills that you've developed, et cetera. This is just a little slide here that shows our SkillBridge internship position. This is what's been placed out with the Air Force and the Navy. The Army is a little different with SkillBridge. We're learning you got to go base by base, but this particular slide focuses on our manager training program, and some of the contact things that you'll see there will repeat at the end of the presentation. But as Candy said in the beginning, if you are on active duty, SkillBridge is a great opportunity for you. And I highly recommend that you go take a look at it. There is, I know that there's a partnership with the HOH, Hiring Our Heroes. They do a really great job with the fellowship. We are looking at that fellowship. I've actually talked to some of their coordinators about getting into one of the lockstep programs that initiate in 2021. Another good way there, maybe if you're coming in a little higher level up, I saw a question in the Q&A about what happens if I've been in 20 years and I'm retired, and, am I qualified for a manager training position? I would say I'm talking to one of the wounded warriors I mentioned, just retired from the Marine Corps. And yeah, he is going to go into that position. He won't stay a manager trainee very long. He'll shoot up pretty quickly if he gets into that cycle. And then he'll become a transportation manager and probably be running one of our facilities, an on-site location at a customer pretty quickly, which seems to be the path. So I wouldn't get too caught up in sometime the mechanics of what is the job title, so to speak, but really look at the opportunity and look at what that career path is. And when you get that opportunity to interview with folks like Isla or Darius or myself, ask those questions. What is the culture like at JB Hunt, and how does it reward folks, for hard work and what you're bringing to the table, that kind of thing. So we do have a lot of strong growth from within, but we occasionally will bring people in from the outside and plug them into higher level positions as well, based on the skill set that they bring in. Thank you, Candy. So I know we're running a little behind, but I won't mention each of these, but no, I think what was mentioned before, not everybody at JB Hunt drives a truck. So I don't drive a truck. I actually did drive a truck when I was a manager trainee for a week, and oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe how hard that job is. So I'm glad I don't do that one. But if you are a truck driver, if you have been a truck driver, if you want to be a truck driver, we'll hire you to be a truck driver. Same with being a mechanic. We have a lot of great jobs. But behind the scenes too, there are tons of other positions. Some are in Arkansas at our corporate headquarters, which you can see in the background. Some are around the country at one of our other 500 locations. By the way, that picture that you're looking at is we participate in Wreaths Across America. And that is a group that's, their mission is to put wreaths on every headstone in every national cemetery in the United States. And this year, the 2020 campaign, even with COVID, JB Hunt is going to haul about 150,000 of those wreaths with 21 different loads or 26 different loads. So really exciting, but we get a huge turnout for our veteran and military support events, not just in our corporate headquarters, but all around the country. Thank you, ma'am. And finally, a couple other slides. And I didn't know if you were making these things, if you're sending out the deck, Candy, or not, but I'm assuming that you guys will be able to find the point of contact. So my information is listed on there, as is Isla's. Feel free to shoot us a note. I see a lot of things flying around on LinkedIn too. That's also a great way to engage. And then there's some of our links to our social sites and to our military site on .jobs, where you can go out and have a look at all those positions. So again, thank you guys
Eric,
for your time. Yes, ma'am.
I was gonna say, can I do one more shout out real quick?
Yeah, please.
Hey, you guys, I was from Southern California, and when my husband asked me if we could move to Arkansas, when we got out of the military, I looked at him like, what in the, like, who lives in Arkansas? No way, this is gonna be horrible. Northwest Arkansas is beautiful. It is up at the corner of Arkansas. It's the home office. Northwest Arkansas is the home office of Walmart, JB Hunt, and Tyson. So extremely competitive area. Great, beautiful. I love it. Cost of living is great. I have to shout that out just because, again, when we say a lot of those jobs on that last slide were at our home office, people are going to be like, Arkansas. So I want you to know it is beautiful and there's lots of opportunity here. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good shout out. And Darius will appreciate that as well. But yeah, I was stationed at Quantico, Virginia when I got out of the Marines, and my wife is from New Jersey originally. And when I said, hey, I'm going to go talk to this company in Arkansas, she kind of gave me that raised eyebrow look too. But you know what? We all have teeth, we wear shoes, we read books. You know, it's a great place to be. And if you like mountain biking or you like cycling of any kind, then you definitely need to come out here and check this place out.
Awesome. You know, I'll give another shout to Northwest Arkansas. I spent a lot of time there. I used to call on Walmart when I was working for Hinkle. And also I think for a while at Procter & Gamble, it's really, really beautiful. You guys, I really just appreciate you all sharing. We have some time, and I'm just looking, I'm popping over into the Q&A box now. It looks like there's been lots of questions, and all of them have already been answered by our panelists, which is great. You know, I guess we have a couple of minutes. If you guys have other questions that maybe came through that you'd like to talk about live that you think might benefit other people, or John and Lee, if there are other things that you might want to mention that you'd like to share. Kevin, if there's anything you want to share, we have a little bit of time, so I'll just kind of open it up for a few minutes.
So, all right, I'll jump in. I jotted down something from one of the LinkedIn messages that got sent to me, which I've got open in parallel, trying to answer as much as possible in real time. It was around, I don't think we went in a lot of great depth around kind of how we structure recruiting things. And I think you'd mentioned there was a third of the folks that were current students. So one, I think, important takeaway is to think about the way large companies especially will look at recruiting is essentially two buckets. One is experienced hires, and the other one is university recruiting hires. So if you're looking at J&J, we've got all sorts of programs, both at the graduate level and the undergraduate level, for folks that are in that university bucket. The role types could be different, but in general, it goes back to my earlier comment of like, hey, we have everything under the sun. You want to do marketing? We've got that. You want to do sales? We've got that. You want to do supply chain and any of the sub areas within supply chain, from logistics work to distribution centers to quality to manufacturing. We've got that. The real takeaway though is the way companies view you, the channel that you use, the way to apply, who you're networking with looks different if it's the university pool versus, hey, I'm directly transitioning from the military, or I'm a few years out of active duty, I'm a reserve or guardsman now, and I'm at another company and looking to make the transition. They view you an experienced hire. It might seem like, well, like, what does it matter to me? But the really important thing is you're talking to a totally different set of individuals within the organization. How you go and pursue that job, which is and the networking portion is so important. I think that's a really important takeaway, to remember, hey, if I'm at university right now, I'm a full-time student somewhere, I have this whole other pathway of applying through either on-campus recruiting or these specialized programs that are just meant for students. You can't apply to them unless you're typically a full-time student. Sometimes it's still available if you're a part-time. So I want to at least call that out, because I've seen a couple folks who've reached out and said, well, hey, I'm in school right now. What does that mean for me, and how do I apply?
John,
for JB Hunt, is it a similar thing? I didn't mean to. I think it's a general comment, not just for J&J, but do you guys view it the same way of like, hey, we do university recruiting a lot differently?
I think our university team works really well with our field recruiters. They do have, we are kind of one big team. They're in a very supportive role though, and they do take the lead a lot, I would say is the best way to describe ours. We're a big company, but we're still small at heart. We really have a lot of growth opportunity. Again, that's where I'm always like super excited to be a part of JB Hunt because of all the potential. We're just continuously developing. Eric's role is brand new. Eric, how long has your role been in play?
Officially since April.
So we're still growing, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, and two, to piggyback on that, like for us, we are very much in conjunction with our university relations teams. We do have different teams that obviously support that. That's what they focus on all year. But the same as I'm on this panel for our military, I was just 2 weeks ago on a week-long panel for university relations across the country. So we're always supporting each other. And like you said, it's really more so, there's a lot of opportunities out there, but you want to go to the place where you know you're going to be supported, where you're a focal point, and where you know you really have someone who's voicing things for you, right? That you have someone, essentially a seat at the table that's saying, hey, our military initiatives, what we're doing for our veterans, what we're doing for that is very important. And it's more than just another great worker. You have someone really supporting you.
Yeah, the strategic alignment as well too. College recruiting is sometimes limited to spring and fall, where with military, you can really round that out around the clock. And that's what really attracted us as well to the skill bridge concept, is that you can employ somebody up to 180 days before they leave active service, which is fantastic. And when I tell my business unit partners that, oh, hey, we don't get to pay them or provide benefits, they're kind of like, what's not to like about that? So it's a great thing.
You guys, I'll just say, John, I really am glad that you brought this up because, part of finding a job requires job seekers to understand the lives of various types of recruiters. And Kevin talked a little bit about this. It can be a little bit complicated. And so we actually had a 90-minute session just on the different ways into a company. And so for those of you that are interested in a little bit more of what John talked about, it is consistent across most companies. Again, you can check out, I believe it's the September 10th session that's on our website that goes into a whole bunch of detail, because that part is so important, especially for student veterans. And Kevin even talked about kind of how to prioritize a couple of different groups if you are a student veteran. So I encourage you guys to check that one out. Any other kind of deep thoughts anybody wants to talk about?
I wanted to kind of say that the kind of what similar to what you just said, Kenny, too, is I know it's hard for us military to sometimes be able to translate what we do, right, or what we did, or how it can be beneficial to another, to your organization. This was really hard for me when I was coming out. Like I said, I was supply logistics, motor pool, did scheduling, ordered parts, but now I want to be in HR. How can I translate that? And so that's sometimes really hard. And that's where when you reach out to the wrong recruiter, right? Somebody who doesn't know what you did in the military, doesn't understand military lingo, they're probably not going to be able to say, oh yeah, we might have an opportunity over here. They may be like, sorry, this position doesn't fit you. So coming to me, if you need me on LinkedIn, reaching out and saying, hey, this is what I did. How can I transfer this? Is this something that you guys could use at JB Hunt? Finding that right person is definitely vital in that networking process. So I want to definitely highlight that as well.
And just to build off of that comment, I mean, if that's the challenge, right? Of, hey, I'm struggling to make the translation of what I'm doing. There are so many great resources out there, right? So I know Veterati is a partner for this series, right? You can go and have that. That's an easy one because you can have 1 hour sessions with folks that have opted into being a mentor. You can vet the individuals because you get to see their LinkedIn profile. J&J partners with American Corporate Partners, which is a sort of roughly 10-month-long one-to-one mentorship program. And they do a lot to invest in making sure that mentor-protege relationship matches up and works well by personality type, but also by the industry and the function that you're looking for. The results from that program, the satisfaction of the individuals going through it, both on the mentor side and the protege side, is really tremendous. And there's others. There's e-mentor programs. So there's a handful that are really very strong. And if you struggle to translate your skill, but you generally know where you want to go, there's also great programs. So if you're someone on here who says, I don't know, I'm really interested in, just use a J&J one, I'm really interested in supply chain, I want to go in manufacturing, I would say, great, let's go talk to Heroes Make America, which is run from the Manufacturing Institute. These are all no cost to you as a service member, as a veteran, that are doing skill development, mentorship, but they're really helping you do that translation. So what's different now, I think, from when I made the transition from active duty 10 years ago, is all of these programs were basically created as a result of the last financial crisis and veteran unemployment being so much higher than the general population. And then all of these nonprofits created things. The federal government poured a ton of money into programming like SkillBridge. These things exist now. You should feel very confident in that you can go and get these things. If you really want to go search for it, it's out there. So I just offer that, but the mentorship, really great results for folks that are opting into that.
100%, you guys. I love it. We have a couple minutes before I need to move into the.
I have a quick question, Cam.
Yeah.
And this is to both companies. We have different employers that come on. They have their IT department is structured a little bit differently. And one of the things that came up, it's come up a couple of times, was like, for example, Amazon, you can only apply, if that's the one, you can only apply, you can have one resume when you upload that stuff. Some companies you can upload multiple resumes. Is there a process that you would recommend, like when you're applying for a job? One, find the role, like look for a role. It's tough, as a veteran, I just like, well, give me a job, I'll do anything. Well, it's like, well, they have roles. You guys have roles and you're looking to fill those roles. So when they're applying, is there any advice you can give them as far as, hey, apply for one role, don't apply for 17 roles, because then we think you just got hammered and we're dumping, job applications at 2:00 in the morning. Is there a process that you guys have that may trip somebody up that they don't know about when they go online to apply for the roles that you guys have in your career, online application process?
I can see Lee chomping at the bit to answer this one.
Yeah, I would just, and maybe JB has a different point of view. I would say that, like, I always encourage veterans and talent to think about concurrent pathways, because, there might be a number of different things to consider for any role, right? How many spots they have, if they have an internal candidate, external. So I always encourage people to run concurrent paths, with the caveat of not applying to everything, right? So being very deliberate in your approach, right? Is it operations and supply chain? Great. So apply to those different, is it pay grade 26 and a manager role? So you're not sure exactly where you fit. So apply to a couple of those roles. Oftentimes that will be the same recruiter. So they might see where you'll be a good fit and help to plug you in. I think, wearing my old recruiter hat, it's when you get into the situation, you're in the applicant tracking system and you see, 50 applications, in that time frame, Kevin, like you said, where it looks a little bit confusing as to what that person wants. And you can have multiple resumes. So if you're applying to slightly different jobs, and tailor your resume so that recruiter or that hiring manager knows why you're a good fit for that particular position.
Awesome. Thank you.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
I would agree 100% with that, especially not, throwing your name out there too often for everything from vice president down to janitor. It just creates an overpresence in the applicant tracking system. That said, at JB Hunt, we'll get 60-some thousand unique applicants every year. And I'm sure at J&J, it's probably twice that. So what can you do to separate yourself? Being on this call, being in this presentation is probably the best way. You've got our contact information. You've got Candy's contact information. You can go back and look at all the connects that have been done before and then find those people. Most recruiters, most folks in this military talent space that are worth their salt, they're going to respond when you send, a LinkedIn inquiry. John's already out there. He's probably already got half you guys lined up for interviews. So it's great, but lean into those connections, get yourself a toehold. A toehold becomes a foothold. And the next thing you know, you're opening up that door. There are going to be a lot of folks like you, Kevin, that don't know what you want, and just know that, hey, I want to do something different. I want a job, and I want it to be a good job that I enjoy. So go into that, seeing how can I find those people. That young lady that I mentioned, Sihua, she reached out to me because she saw my name as a connection in PAYS, which was another program that we participate in with the Army, Partnership for Youth Success. And she wanted to go into supply chain. And so she just sent me a note, and now here she is doing what she wanted to do. And so, but that's usually the way to get in there, and be persistent when you find that as well.
Yeah. I agree with Eric. Being persistent, I would tell you guys, like you said, if you're applying for positions, one thing I love, Leah, so I'll reiterate that is, just making sure you're in the same vertical, because as a recruiter, when I see that, I'm okay with seeing 10 different positions if they're all in the same. If you've applied for a couple field analyst type of roles, a couple of this kind of analyst roles, okay, I get that. But if you go from management or to this, then I'm wondering, do you know what you want to do? And now that's, there's some risk involved and things like that. So make sure you're kind of in your vertical. I agree with that. And kind of stick to that. But I always tell people, be very intentional with your time. Like when you're applying for these roles and then you're making these connections, like Eric said, this is going to be one of the best places. A lot of people I don't hire from being in our system. I connect with them on LinkedIn. I have conversations with them. I learn their background. Sometimes they aren't a spot on fit, but then I can find the right fit as I get to hear your story and kind of hear what you'd be really good at. And so make sure your connections that you're making, if you're going to apply at any company, try to find that recruiter, try to find that person who's in HR and send them a message and say, hey, I applied for this kind of role. And, if they're a good team like that, I know J&J or JB Hunt has, we're going to be digging in your background. We're going to be looking at that applicant. We're going to be making a determination. So it's all about, who as well as putting in that information. So make sure you use this networking correctly and be very intentional with your time.
And, while you were talking, Darius, I put up, so Eric, and I just want you to know, I put back up your contact information. You're the first people that have shared your direct number in these webcasts. So I put that up intentionally just while Darius was talking to give everybody, again, guys, basically folks are here, they want to help you. When they're giving you your information, be proactive, right? Be smart, right? Don't waste their time, but be proactive. So I love our giveaway today because we've actually kind of talked a lot about this. John, thank you for kind of kicking that off. So we have two giveaways today. Our first one is a $100 Amazon.com gift card. Couple of things, no repeat winners. And so here's how this works. I'm about to put up a question. The third person to type it into the Q&A box. So again, only the panelists see. So we're going to keep track of who's the third person to put this in. The number participate? What was that?
Can I participate too?
No, Eric, you are disqualified.
Gotcha.
All right. So are you guys ready? The third person, the Q&A box. Okay. So we talked a little bit about this. In the September 10th 50 Strong session of Demystifying the Civilian Recruiting Process, Kevin Wordy described 4 funnels to get into companies. So campus recruiters, experienced hire recruiters, referrals. What was the third one? All right, I'm checking out the Q&A box. All right. So we have one person that's gotten the answer right so far. Does anybody else want to give it a shot to be number 3? All right, I will make an executive decision. The correct answer was veteran recruiters. Eric, that's why you're disqualified. I'm so sorry. Daniel White, you are the only person to put in that answer so far. And so given that we're out of time, I'm not going to wait on the third person. You have officially won a $100 Amazon gift card. I will get that to you shortly. We also have one more giveaway. The JB Hunt team has a swag bag that they'd like to give away. No repeat winners. Eric, you cannot participate. The third person to type this one correctly into the Q&A box is going to win. So how many employees does JB Hunt have today? Is it 10,000 plus, 20,000 plus, or 30,000 plus? All right, Steve Neal, you have just won yourself a JB Hunt swag bag. Eric and Isla, I will get you Steve Neal's contact information to send that out.
Congrats,
Candy.
Steve.
Yes.
Can I do a shout out? Apparently one of my old NCOs is actually on this call, so I am so excited.
No way.
Her name is Sergeant Flood, and she was actually one of my last NCOs at Fort Gordon. So hi, I hope this has been everything you expected it to be.
Very cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I'm so glad you called that out, Isla. So a couple of friendly reminders. We have 4 minutes left. This recording will be on the 50strong.us website by tomorrow afternoon. All the recordings of all of our sessions are on the website. So a couple of friendly reminders. Leverage those if they are of help to you. Please make sure that you're leveraging LinkedIn. There's a ton of great learning and networking out there. Build your personal brand. And by that, I mean build relationships so that people know who you are. Find your tribe of mentors. Maybe Veterati is a good fit for you, maybe ACP. I don't care if you find them just directly on LinkedIn, but get a group of people that you trust that can help guide your career path. Engage directly and proactively with those working in industry. I cannot impress this upon you enough. Engagement and interaction directly with those in industry are going to open so many doors for you. With that, open every single door. Do not wait for a placement. In civilian employment and job searching, it is incredibly important that you're proactive. Right after we close off the webcast, you'll see a post-session survey that will open up. Please take a chance, a second to just give us some feedback. If this is helpful for you, please share it and tag 50 Strong. Reminder that we are here with you every Thursday through mid-December. Every week we have new employers, but all currently hiring and military seeking employers. I also just want to leave you with one quick thought that has kind of spoken to me a little bit lately. So what people think happens when you make a career change is that you completely start over from day one. What actually happens, you bring all of your past experience with you, learn faster, challenge your assumptions, become more humble, and gain a new perspective. So to many of you out there that are opening up a next chapter, I've shared these words from John Cobb. Cheers to you. And we are here to support your reinvention process in this next chapter. With that, I want to remind you next week, we will have veteran and military leaders from Tech Systems, who was mentioned earlier. We will also have veteran and military leaders from Booz Allen Hamilton. For those of you out there from the University of Arizona, one of your recent graduates and past SVA president, who is now at Booz Allen Hamilton, is going to be joining us on next week's session. You guys, thank you all so much to our university partners, to our corporate sponsors for making this possible. We have a couple minutes left if anybody would like to give last words.
Thank you everybody for coming, from the J&J team and JB Hunt team, and Candy for getting it all going, and for everybody that attended. So I just want to say
thank you guys from JB Hunt for putting this together. I know you're fairly new at this as well. It's really awesome what 50 Strong has been able to do in such a short amount of time. So thank you for having us.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here so much. For those of you listening in, thank you again for joining us. We hope to see you next week. John, Lee, Isla, Darius, Eric, thank you again so much for being with us today. We will see you soon.
Thanks, Candy, Kevin. Do well.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
You're all.